Today we are thinking about what in our lives is transient, that is fleeting, passing, or changing, and that which is permanent. This month we are learning from our earth teacher, the moon, which is always there and always whole, just like we are. But we can't always see the whole moon. It goes through phases, waxing and waning, sometimes appearing bright and other times dim. The light is transient, but the moon is permanent. Our lives are, whether we like to think of it this way or not, transient. There are always changes, always phases. And yet there are parts of ourselves that are always there, the core of our being, the permanence. Today, as we honor Halloween and All Souls and El Dia de los Muertos and those celebrations that remember those who have died and whose memories remain to bless us, we are thinking together about our legacy. What is it that we want to leave behind? What permanence do we want to be remembered for when our transient lives are through? I just finished listening to a podcast a little while ago. It's hosted by Jad Abumrad, who also does NPR's Radio Lab, and another podcaster named Shima Oliaye, and it's called Dolly Parton's America. Did anyone listen to Dolly Parton's America? It's incredible. Dolly Parton, it's all about Dolly Parton. It was originally supposed to be just one episode, and it turned into this, I think, 9 or 10 episode podcast about her life and her faith and her ability to bring people together and her home. And at the end of the series, they have a conversation about her end of life. You know, she's not young. Dolly Parton is getting up there in years. And she is a planner. She is a consummate businesswoman. And so she said in her interview, she doesn't want to be like Aretha. And if you don't know, Aretha Franklin died with no will. They later found a little scrap of paper that was almost illegible that they debated in court whether it would qualify as a will. She had an $80 million estate, as well as the property rights, song rights, image rights that her heirs had to fight over in court for a decade because she had no will. That is not going to happen to Dolly Parton. She said, I'm not going to be Aretha. In fact, in addition to making plans for her fortune, she has been laying down click tracks of her own voice so that songs can be produced using her own voice after she dies. She is a prolific songwriter, and many of her songs have been produced, but many haven't. And so some original Dolly Parton music can be created with her own voice after she dies. And she's also giving permission to songwriters and singers well into the future to use those click tracks if they want Dolly Parton on their album. I think that's pretty incredible. In addition to her music, which is certainly one of her greatest legacies, there's Dollywood, the theme park, and the incredible investments that she has made in her hometown of Sevierville, Tennessee, which will outlast her, including her Buddy Incentive Program, which she created a decade or two ago to help kids stay in school. They get partnered up with a buddy in middle school, and if both kids graduate high school, then they both get a check handwritten by Dolly Parton. It was a $500 at first, and I don't know what it is now, but the trick is they both have to graduate, so they help each other stay in school. But in my mind, possibly her greatest legacy is her Imagination Library, which since 1995 has given books to children every month from when they are born until they start kindergarten, to inspire an early love of reading and set them on a path to strong literacy. Dolly started this program in her own county where the literacy rates were low, and she did it in honor of her daddy, who she says was the smartest man she knew, but the fact that he never learned to read or write kept him from achieving his dreams. Now, Dolly's Imagination Library spans 5 countries and gives high-quality, age-appropriate books every single month to over 3 million children. One of the things that struck me while listening to the podcast, Dolly Parton's America, was her sense of humor, her inclusive heart, her incredible talent, and her business acumen. She's remembered as flashy with glittery costumes and big hair and big boobs, and of course she makes those jokes herself. But she is so much more than that. And for those kids whose literacy was made possible by her generosity, I just can't imagine a better legacy. Last summer, my family and I took a trip to Hershey, Pennsylvania. And we got to visit the chocolate factories and the theme park. And I got to visit a place that I had read about in a book a couple years ago. So here's the story. Milton Hershey, of chocolate fame, and his wife never had kids. She, his wife, encouraged him to start a school to support a handful of boys in middle and high school who were otherwise in poverty and wouldn't have been able to go to school. His wife died many years before Milton did, and he kept the school going, and it grew. When he died, he placed his entire fortune and his entire future company fortune in trust for his children, that school. The Milton Hershey School is now a kindergarten through high school boarding school where students live, play, and study, and every single one of their expenses is covered. Food, medical care, uniforms, clothes, extracurriculars, everything. Their entire education, and when they graduate, they're given a scholarship to college. They live in homes run by house parents because Hershey didn't want them to live in institutional dorms. He wanted them to live in family settings. It's a prestigious school. Many of the graduates have gone on to work for the Hershey Company as executives. The school currently has 1,500 students. It's graduated tens of thousands of students, all of whom were living below the poverty line, and many of whose families are unhoused. Imagine if our millionaires and billionaires today thought the way Hershey thought. If there were fewer Musks and more Dolly Partons. Now, I know many of us do not have the money that Milton Hershey or Dolly Parton or Aretha Franklin have, but we all have a legacy, a choice about how we want to be remembered. I've had the honor of officiating many memorial services in my ministry, and lately I've done several here at the fellowship. Beautiful celebrations of life where people share fond memories of the person who has died. I always learn more about the person hearing these incredible stories. And it always makes me think about my own legacy. What will people say at my memorial service? How will I be remembered? Is that how I want to be remembered? Is there anything I can do differently during my lifetime to make sure I am remembered the way I want to be remembered? So now I want to take us in a time machine, back to the early 1950s. Appleton's own Senator Joe McCarthy has been campaigning an anti-communist campaign known to history as the Red Scare. And it officially, according to the history books, ended in 1954, but of course, the fear lingered well beyond 1954. And in 1955, a group of people gathered together to start an organization. Their names were Bill Dunwitty, Mary Jane Dunwitty, Len Weiss, Don Weiss, Bert Brown, Margaret Ferris, Lewis Wise, and Helen Hall. And they got together and they created an organization that they called the Fox Valley Liberal Religious Fellowship. 1 year after the technical end of the Red Scare, they founded an organization with the word liberal in it. Pretty brave. They wrote that the purpose of this organization shall be to join its members into a religious and educational fellowship to develop human character and personal responsibility, to further individual freedom of belief and to advance liberal religion through study, service, and spiritual consecration. And that is the purpose that this organization, the Fox Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, still exists under. I think about their legacy. These people who had the bravery, the courage to found this organization, to have the foresight to look into the future and see what they wanted for the future of their community. And then all the people who came after them, who helped this place thrive, many of whom are still sitting in this space. Next week, next Saturday and Sunday, we are going to be celebrating our fellowship's 70th anniversary. Next Saturday, we're going to be having our Stayin' Alive auction. It is a 70s themed auction because we're turning 70. I was like, shouldn't it be a 50s themed auction? Anyway, the decade is irrelevant. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of disco. But preparing for the anniversary celebration, I was looking through boxes and boxes of pictures. And, I was really struck, especially by the pictures from the mid to late 1980s. The building was different. The hairstyles and clothes were different, but other than that, those photos could have been taken today. They were joyful community making, kids painting and playing, adults playing music, dressing up, sharing meals, collective work, supporting this community. In fact, one of the photos was some adults with a bunch of kids with a big poster that they were painting with a heart, a peace sign, an earth, love. I was like, isn't that same exact banner in our RE wing right now? This is who we have been. People who take care of each other, who celebrate our children, who have fun together. The founders might not have recognized us today, this building, this many people. They would not have understood Zoom. They probably wouldn't recognize who we are and the fact that we have two ministers, both of whom are females, one of whom is a lesbian. But they would have recognized who we are at our core. Still celebrating our children, still having fun together, still taking care of our community. We have here at the fellowship a fund, an endowment, which we ask people to make plans if they are at the end of their, when they are at the end of their life, to make a donation in their will to our endowment, or you can give to the endowment during your lifetime at any time. And that endowment stays the money stays there forever. We never draw down on that money, that principal. But the interest that grows off of that endowment can be used for the future. We call the members of our endowment society the acorns, or the Acorn Society, because we say that we sit in the shade of trees that we didn't plant. This tree, I did not plant, but I benefit from, my children benefit from. And I want to plant things that will grow long into the future for my children's children, for the sweet, tiny baby asleep on his mom right now. Next week, our endowment committee will be having a middle hour session. I hope you will come to learn more about our endowment, where it is, its current status, the types of investment that we do that are for justice, and how you can be a part of the Acorn Society. So, as we're thinking about change and transience and our own lives and what we can't yet envision, I wonder, what does the future hold for my own life, for yours, for this fellowship? I have no idea. If the COVID-19 pandemic taught me anything, it is that my plans are written in Jell-O. But I know that 70 years from now, this place will continue to be here as a beacon of liberal religion, And just as it was needed in 1955, and holy moly, as it is needed today, it will still be needed 70 years from now. And we have a legacy to uphold. What will we be known for? As we think about our legacy to the world, individually and as a community, I wonder what we are grateful for. Because what we are grateful for is where we put our energy and our time and our resources. May it be so, and amen.